Yes, guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Robbie Basel Show. And you're probably wondering, Robbie, what is going on? What is this? Why are we back on Riverside? So you'll see like the graphic over here. And why is it so bright out? And why is my hand like nearly invisible? Well, the new setup, I'm going to be honest, is not as great as I would have liked it to. So for like the first couple of videos, you'll probably see this like giant light. I tried closing the blinds, but that was pretty freaking useless, I'll be honest. So yeah, that'll be there for a little bit. Also, that main light. I'm working on like fixing the setup a little bit, maybe moving some things around, changing some things up. But yes, today we are testing out this new wireless microphone. Hopefully, it doesn't die mid video because one, that'd be pretty freaking hilarious. And second, that'd be kind of sad. But as this thing keeps moving around, we have a lot to talk about in today's video. So I'm not going to waste your time. This is the international break video. So there will be some edits. You'll see the groups and you'll see everything visually much more appealing. That's the goal, at least. I have no idea how the hell this is going to go. But one thing I have to ask you guys in the comments: we tried an intro song about a year ago now with the Premier League video. It Takes Two by Robbie, and that got demonetized. So comment below a song that's royalty free or whatever the term is that I should use as the intro to this channel. Because there'll be an intro graphic, there'll be a lot could be changing with the channel. Could be a rebrand, all that coming in mid-September. So I'm trying to figure out like what an intro song would be, and haven't come up with anything good yet. So if you guys have any recommendations, leave them down in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say on that. Also, another thing I want to bring up: Into the Stands. I'm not going to be answering any questions on that right now because we have no idea what's going to happen with that yet. There's a lot of up in the air with that. So WIUR stuff will hopefully be announced next week from me, but listen, who the hell knows? Because a lot can change within a day or so. Speaking of a lot of things changing in a day, just like me trying to fix this microphone, we have a lot of stuff to talk about in today's video. But before I get into that, we're going to give a brief moment of silence for Johnny Gaudreau. If you don't know what happened last night, Johnny Gaudreau and his brother were struck by a car in Pennsylvania, New Jersey yesterday. Overnight, the Gaudreaus are riding bicycles in western New Jersey and were struck by a drunk driver. Johnny Gaudreau, for those who don't know, 31-year-old hockey player. He played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He most notably played for Calgary, helped get that Calgary team into the playoffs multiple times. His brother, known college player, got into the AHL, never really got into the NHL, but it was really sad. And I learned about it this morning, and it's crazy to think that in the blink of an eye, how much can change. It's something that we as humans see right. Anything can happen, and it was really sad to lose someone of the caliber. Not even just a regular, not just any person that no one really knows about as a notable player, but I would do this with any player really, and it's really sad to see Johnny Gaudreau. So we'll give a 10-second moment of silence for our guy, Johnny Gaudreau of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who passed away, as well as his brother, who both passed away last night. Thank you. And now back to the show. So we have a lot to discuss, and hopefully I'll be lifting the morale of everyone as this show goes on. So let's not mess around, and hopefully the graphics will be working. But who the heck knows at this point? Before I get into that, one more announcement I just remembered. I will be on stream tomorrow. So yes, I will be back on a stream. If you don't remember from Tuesday, that extremely late upload that was pretty stupid. I was on stream with JJ Seglio and the crew on Empire Sports Media on Tuesday night. It was an experience. A lot of people were on it, I'll tell you that much. And it was like pure chaos. But we were able to do all the college football predictions, all of that stuff. And this morning, or eventually, JJ is going to announce that I will be a part of the first broadcast of that channel. We'll be doing Notre Dame against Texas A&M tomorrow night, 7:30 on YouTube, on Empire Sports Media YouTube. Link in description to the channel. I think the stream is going to start at like 7:15, but you'll hear me commentate as the color commentator with JJ, talking Notre Dame football. It's going to be a great time. Listen, I have no idea how that's going to go, but hopefully you guys can join in the chat. It would be a lot of fun if you guys could be a part of that, and it would be really fun for me just to see, just different people in the chat talking football, listening, like giving me pointers if I need any. Heck, my audio might be crap, just like my audio might be crap right now, which is why editing is such a great thing, because this thing's moving around like crazy, and I didn't think that was going to happen, yet here we are. So, that's all the announcements out the way. We had the Johnny Gaudreau stuff. Let's get right into soccer, and we're going to start us off with World Cup qualifiers. This is the international break. The international break is next week. So, just for if you remember from last episode, this week, today's video, is the international break preview. So you'll have all 5 major federations talked about today, from CONCACAF to not Oceania. Oceania we talk about in March. We have CONMEBOL, we have UEFA with the Nations League, we have Africa and Asia, all that nonsense. That's today. Next video, NFL season preview. That will be on Tuesday. That will be uploaded on Tuesday. It should be a very fun episode, a very chaotic episode. But who the heck knows? Friday, the following video will be the regular video. We'll really go more into the Champions League draw and all the other European draws. The Premier League video, we'll be talking about the Premier League in the video. Go over highlights from the previous weekend. All of that and more on next Friday's video. We'll also talk about F1 at the end of this video, because we have to talk about what happened in F1 recently, because we didn't get to talk about it in the last video. But international break and F1 in this video. Let's get right into it, and we'll kick it off today. If you remember, there's like an alphabetical order. We're starting in Asia. It's not Africa. We are starting in Asia today.
Currently editing the video you're watching, and I realized that I started with Africa first instead of Asia, even though the federations are different. I'm going to acknowledge it later, but I believe I said Africa. No, I said Asia first, but we really went with Africa first. I don't listen, my brain was just vibing with Africa, apparently. Like we usually do with this channel, so enjoy me saying Africa is second, even though Africa was first. Back to the video.
And we have AFCON qualifying. So, if you remember from January of this year, I was going all in on AFCON. AFCON is beautiful. I think it's the most slept on international tournament in the world, club or country. And it is glorious. And qualifying actually started more recently than I thought. We had the preliminary draw. Well, the preliminary round happened, which is like 8 of the worst teams. They had to go through a qualifying round. Let's just briefly go through that. The matchups were Somalia against Eswatini, Sao Tome and Principe against South Sudan, Chad and Mauritius, and Djibouti versus Liberia, which anything mentioned with Djibouti would be a C plus, at minimum a C plus pickup line on a bar. Just saying. I would try that, but listen, I have actually was going to experiment with that recently, but I bottled it. Don't ask about it. But let's get right into it. So, first matchup, we had Eswatini and Somalia. I watched a little bit of the highlights, but the games were so bad that it was a mess. Somalia in the first leg lost 3-0. They got completely outmatched. The second game actually was pretty decent. Um, what would you be expect between Somali and Eswatini? I actually don't even know. Eswatini did win 5-2 on aggregate. It wasn't the craziest thing ever. But the next matchup was crazy because away goals do matter. And in the first leg, we had Sao Tome and Principe and South Sudan draw 1-1. And the reason this is significant is because South Sudan scored a very crucial away goal, 78th minute goal by this player Ellie, and 0-0 second leg. So South Sudan advances on away goals because that's just how this works. I rock with it. I don't mind it at all. But here we go. There it is. We had Chad, the Giga Chads. I talked to a lot of people about this. A lot of people wanted Chad to go through just for the meme, and they went through. They won 1-0 in the first leg. The first leg was pretty boring when you watch it back, but the second leg was awesome. Chad won the second leg 2-1 to win 3-1 on aggregate for Chad. Then we had Djibouti against Liberia. First leg was kind of interesting. Liberia won 2-0, and then a 0-0 second leg, which would send Liberia, Chad, South Sudan, and Eswatini through to the main draw qualifying. Essentially, how this works, it's a lot, like a million groups. Top two teams advance to the tournament. If you're not in the top two, sorry, you're out of here. So let's go through each of these things. We're actually starting in Africa. We aren't going in alphabetical order. Well, I said we're going in alphabetical order, and we started in Africa. And I said we were in Asia, but we're in Africa. Cool. Brilliant job, Robbie. We start in Africa. And Group A, we have Tunisia, Madagascar, Comoros, and the Gambia. Now, Tunisia is the best team in this group. They beat France in the World Cup. They've almost won AFCON multiple times. They've been in the conversation as the best African team in the continent. But they've slid in some of these other matchups. And if you look at Tunisia recently, it's been a little bit mixed results for them, to be honest. You talk about, we go back to 2024 matches, and yes, they've been unbeaten since their AFCON elimination, or their AFCON loss in the group stage to Namibia, but they draw a lot, and it's actually very interesting. But if you talk about World Cup qualification, they've won their second most recent match against Equatorial Guinea. They drew Namibia again, because that's just how this works. They've beat Malawi. They beat Sao Tome and Principe. So they know how to beat some of the lower level teams, but struggles in, you talk about, go back to the AFCON, you struggle against Namibia. You struggle against some of the bigger teams in Asia. That could worry me a little bit, but they're in a group with Madagascar. Comoros is all right. The Gambia are eternally disappointing. I'm not overrating the Gambia again. I want Comoros to make it through, but Madagascar, they're better than Comoros. So if you don't know where Comoros is, you look at Madagascar, and it's east of that. These like these tiny islands. Hopefully, I'll put a map up. I don't think I will, but who the hell knows? Those two places are going to face each other twice, and it's going to be brilliant. If you look at the opening matches for September, we open with Tunisia against Madagascar. I think that's going to be a brilliant match. I have no idea what's going to happen in that one. And then the other matchup, we have Comoros against the Gambia. Listen, if the Gambia want to make any noise in this competition whatsoever, it's beating Comoros at least once. It's a little bit of a wait and see for the Gambia. They have a lot of talented players, but just with how everything's run, their head coach isn't very good. You don't get to see the best out of this Gambian team. It really sucks because the Gambia, in 2 AFCONs ago, they won a group, or like top 2 in a group, and they were tied for the top of their group, I think is what it was, and they made it to the quarterfinals. The national team is not bad. It's just how things are ran. So I'm a little bit worried for Gambia, but I would say Tunisia and Madagascar, the top 2, I think should be able to go through. Group B is where this gets a little confusing. You have the host Morocco, who are playing matches, I guess. I don't know. We have Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho. Now, Lesotho is the team I want to watch out for. Pot 4 Lesotho. If you don't remember Lesotho from the last time we talked about them, They are in the African World Cup qualifying group with like Nigeria and South Africa. And the last time they played, let me find this actually. They went out. They did lose. They played in the COSAFA Cup recently. They did get grouped in with a group featuring Seychelles, Namibia, and Angola, which is kind of sad. But in recent World Cup qualifying, they've actually not been that bad. They beat Zimbabwe. Who are not actually that terrible. They lost to Rwanda. That's pretty bad. I mean, Rwanda is top of the group. Wow, I never thought I'd say that here, but here we are. And they've able to get some decent results. You draw Benin, you draw Nigeria. They're gonna be in the mix. Gabon, they're the more notable team in this group, other than of course Morocco. They had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They have a couple other players you might know. The Central African Republic are here as well. They're not as known as much for winning games, but able to get results against some decent teams. I like Gabon the most, then Lesotho, then the Central African Republic. The Gabonese team, they have some decent players. When you look at their most capped players, you have Bruce Akwe Manga. That's their most capped player, 97 caps for him. Fair play to him. They have Mario Lamina, Dennis Buwanga. Like they have who plays for LAFC. They have some like really respectable players here. So they're not a bad team. But it's gonna Andre Poco's another one, 75, 78 caps. He actually plays in Israel now. They have players from all over the world, and of course you had Aubameyang, who's actually now on Al Qadisiyah. Who the heck knows? I'm not good with the Saudi names. All right, relax. They'll be interesting. I'm gonna do Morocco, even though I don't know why they're here because they qualified already. Then Gabon, then Lesotho, then the Central African Republic. I know I'm taking a little bit long, so let's keep it rolling. Group C: Egypt, Cape Verde, yep, Mauritania, and Botswana. I think this group's a walkover for Egypt and Cape Verde. Mauritania, they have some players you might know. Botswana can get some weird results, but Egypt, I mean, they have most solid. They have some of the most respected players in the continent. And Cape Verde is one of the sleeper teams that could even win AFCON in 2020 in the next edition of this tournament. I actually don't remember when this tournament even is. When is this tournament? Because I know qualifying is like ends this is it's this whole like couple of months, but we'll figure it. They'll figure it out. I have Egypt and Cape Verde, Mauritania and Botswana. They're going to like, do great battles with each other, but I just don't see them really putting up a fight against Egypt and Cape Verde. Group D is where this gets really fun. We have Nigeria, Benin, Rwanda, and Libya. Now, Rwanda are a very interesting one. Okay, they may be known for like some internal conflicts, genocides, and whatever. But overshadowing that as of late has been their recent success in World Cup qualifying. They've been able to, I mean, they're top of their group. Looking at their recent results, you have to look at this Rwanda national team, okay? They are going to be the most slept on team in this whole thing. They've struggled actually against Benin, which is kind of funny. But they've beaten South Africa. They play Nigeria next, by the way, in World Cup qualifying. But they've been able to get good results. They drew Zimbabwe. They have one loss in their first four matches. That's not a bad start for a nation like Rwanda. So they're going to be a team to watch out for. Benin, who a couple of World Cup qualifyings ago, they were in that group with DR Congo and were this close to getting to the final round of World Cup qualifiers. And they've had a good start to their own World Cup qualifying campaign in 2020 for 2026. Nigeria, big fall off from them. They've really struggled. I mean, they drew Lesotho, they drew Zimbabwe. Didn't they draw Benin as well? I'm just making sure I got this right. Didn't they draw Benin? They drew Zimbabwe. They drew Lesotho. I remember that. Then they went out and drew South Africa and then lost to Benin. So I think all of these matchups, Libya's here as well. I think they're the worst team in the group, but I think they can make some noise still. I'm going to go with Nigeria still topping it, but barely. All right, Nigeria top. Then I'm going to do Benin, Rwanda, and then Libya. Yeah, I have Nigeria, Benin, Rwanda, and Libya. I think the top three are actually very interchangeable. But I think Nigeria, after that long period of like, what are we doing from World Cup qualifying in June, I think they might be able to figure it out. I have Nigeria topping the group, but not going unbeaten. I think they're going to possibly drop points to Benin and Rwanda. Should be fun. Group E moving right along. I think this is one of the walkovers. We have Algeria, Equatorial Guinea, Liberia, and Togo. Now, Togo, another interesting team. They know how to draw a lot of games, but they don't win a lot, and that's what's going to cost them. Algeria, former top, recent AFCON winners. They won, I believe, in 2019 or 20, around that time. They're going to be one of the teams to watch out for to win the whole tournament next year. But Equatorial Guinea also here. They've had that recent scandal, so they've struggled in World Cup qualifiers. And then Liberia, not very good. They're the pot 4 team in this group. I'm going to do how they listed: Equatorial Guinea in second, Algeria top, Togo third, and Liberia bottom. I think this group is pretty straightforward. Group F, another sleeper group. You've Ghana, Angola, Sudan, and Niger. Niger is the worst team here. I don't think they're going to be as competitive as the other three. Sudan, they've had a really interesting start to World Cup qualifying in the top half of their group. Angola made the AFCON knockouts. And Ghana, World Cup participant multiple times in recent years. I think they're going to be all battling for those spots. I don't think Sudan is there yet. I think it's going to be Ghana and Angola. I just think those two teams right now are going to be more consistent and have more reputation to be able to perform in those big moments. Angola-Sudan matchups are going to be interesting. They're going to be fiery. Ghana-Angola in match day 1. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But we're going to go with Ghana, then Angola, then Sudan, and Niger, just how they listed on the website. Group G, we have the recent hosts and winners of AFCON: Ivory Coast, Zambia, Sierra Leone, and Chad. Now, Sierra Leone, just to bring them up first, another pot 3 team that I've actually been very interested in. They were in the AFCON, I believe it was 3 years ago? The second, because we had Ivory Coast host and then the one before it. I don't remember who. I think it was Senegal who won. The one that Senegal won most recent. We had Sierra Leone, who were in the group with Equatorial Guinea. I think they were in the group with Algeria and Ivory Coast. And then was Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone drew 2 of their most important matches. They drew Ivory Coast, they drew Algeria, and still didn't get out of the group. I think they're going to be able to make some noise, but I just trust that Zambian team more. They're able to play much quicker. They're able to play balls into the channels. They look so much better than that Sierra Leone team. I think the defense from Sierra Leone can hold down the Zambian national team. I'm just not that convinced about the attack for Sierra Leone. So I'm going to go Ivory Coast up top. They're the best team in the group. Then Zambia, then Sierra Leone, then Chad. I think it's pretty straightforward just how they list it. Now, this group is fun. Group H, you have the DR Congo, Guinea, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Another team that doesn't concede a lot with really any of these teams. We have the DR Congo and Tanzania, who both don't concede, but they also don't score very much. You have Ethiopia, who aren't good at both, and you have Guinea, who are massively inconsistent. If you want to talk inconsistency, you have to look at one of the teams you have to look at is the Ghanaian national team. I'm intrigued to see how this Guinea team plays this out. I think Guinea will top this. This is where this can get really chaotic. I'm going to have Guinea up top, DR Congo on goal difference ahead of Tanzania. I think I've really been high on this Tanzanian team in the past. I still am. Their attack isn't very good, but they've allowed a lot of shots, but not a lot of great chances in some of their qualifiers for other tournaments in the past. And in recent performances, yeah, they can get you a 0-0 or 1-1, but I'm just not convinced that they can go out there and beat a Guinea or a DR Congo. So I'm going to have Guinea up top, then the DR Congo, then Tanzania, and then Ethiopia. 4 groups left. We have next up Group I: Mali, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Eswatini. I think Eswatini is getting a walk. Mali have been a team that I've been really concerned about. Mozambique are getting up there. Guinea-Bissau have been really good as of late. I mean, for their standards, if you look at the recent performances from this Guinea-Bissau team, they have done pretty well. Unbeaten in their last 3. They've drawn Ethiopia. They've gotten a draw against the Egyptian national team. So they have been able to get those big time results in big moments. And they open with a very interesting start for themselves. They open with Eswatini and Mozambique in September. I'm interested to see how this Guinea-Bissau team plays this. They are they're one of those teams that are just in the middle. All right, they have a team that can beat some of these good sides, but also struggle against the bad. Mozambique is the same way, but just on experience alone, I'm going to go with Mali up top, but not very convincing. They've been sliding a lot. They're probably the best team that hasn't made a World Cup yet, other than Venezuela. I'm going to go Guinea-Bissau second. I just trust that Guinea-Bissau team more. They've been in AFCON a lot recently. Same with Mozambique. But I think this Guinea-Bissau team is just a little bit better than Mozambique. Mozambique third and Eswatini fourth. I'm actually very interested to see how that Mozambique team looks. They have got a couple of solid players in attack and defense. Group J, we have another group I think is going to be a walkover. We have Cameroon, Namibia, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. I'm going to go Cameroon up top. I mean, they're the best team here. But Namibia and Zimbabwe are very interesting sides in their own. Zimbabwe, if you haven't heard anything about the Zimbabwean team before, fair enough. They are interesting. I mean, they have a 39-year-old goalkeeper on the squad. This team is amazing. They have players from FC Cincinnati, Copenhagen. Like they don't all play. I think Jordan Zamora, who plays for Udinese. I think we all know who Udinese is if you watch the videos. But they're one of their key players, and the player I want to watch out for is Tino Kadewere. He plays for Nantes in France. 28th cap would be his next appearance. He has 27 caps currently with only 3 goals, though, so I think he needs to get a little bit up there in the scoring department. You have Prince Dube from Young Africans in Tanzania. They're all right, but Prince Dube is probably going to be one of the other big names in attack. I'm interested to see how they play it out, but I just trust Cameroon and Namibia more. I'm going to go with Cameroon, Namibia, then Zimbabwe, and then Kenya. Group K, second to last group, we got South Africa, Uganda, Congo, and South Sudan. South Sudan are the sleeper. I think they can make some noise, but I'm going to go with South Africa up top. They have the best team in this group. They're going to be a team that's going to be in the mix to make the World Cup in 2026 when it comes to the United States. You're going to have Uganda, Congo, and South Sudan battle it out. I trust the Congo the most, actually. I'm going to have the Congo finish second. Uganda, I'm a little hesitant on. They're not very good. And I think if you really look at it, this is one of those groups with a really big drop off. You have South Africa up top, and you have the other 3 that are just there. Nothing against those 3 other countries, but they just don't have the quality of players, I don't think so at least, that can rival a South African team. I like the Congo team the most, but I mean, every team here can really make a shot. I'm going to go Congo, then Uganda, then South Sudan, with South Africa up top. Group L, yes, there's a lot of groups in this thing, is one that's another fun one. We've Senegal, Burkina Faso, Malawi, and Burundi. Malawi, they've made it an African knockout recently. You have Burkina Faso, who are one of the big underdogs in Africa, and you have Senegal, who won the tournament 2 editions ago. They're always at the top of the African game. I'm going to go Senegal. I'm going to do it the way they have it. Senegal, Burkina Faso, I think are just too good. Then I have Malawi and Burundi. I think that group is pretty straightforward. So Africa is balling. It's going to be so much fun. But another continent that's been balling recently is Asia. And we're going to go to Asia next, if I can load it up on my phone. So Asia is in their own World Cup qualifiers. And we are up to, I think, the second to last. What round are we? Are we in round 5? 4th round. No, 3rd round. I'm stupid. We're in the 3rd round. So, if you don't remember how the 3rd round works, we had the draw. We have 18 teams remaining. We have 3 groups of 6 teams. And the matches start next week. So, we have Group A. We'll go through the predictions right now. We have Iran, Qatar, Uzbekistan, the UAE, Kyrgyzstan, and North Korea. Iran and Qatar and Uzbekistan are all going to be battling for those 2 automatic spots. Because you have the 2 automatic spots, the 1st and 2nd, and then the 3rd and 4th place teams go to the 4th round. So this is where it gets really confusing. So you want to finish at least top 4 because you'll be in the guaranteed spot or you'll be guaranteed to play more matches. Iran, Qatar, and Uzbekistan and UAE are also going to be in that mix. Will all be fighting for those top 2 spots. But you can't really count out Kyrgyzstan. This Kyrgyzstan team is one that's going to be slept on. I don't think they make the 4th round, but they're going to be up there. If I have to make a table prediction, you got to go with Madi Taremi and the Iranian national team first. They're better than the Qataris. I mean, the Qataris have Al-Moez Ali, Akram Afif. They have some notable Muntari at strike, another striker. The defense there is just kind of weaker than the Iranians. So I'm going to go with Iran, then Qatar, and then I'm going to go with the Uzbekistan UAE is very, very good. As both of them are good. I think Uzbekistan's going to rival the Qataris more. I'll just say this right now. Uzbekistan should be in the World Cup. They're going to be a team that should make the World Cup because if you don't know how the 4th round works, it's 2 groups. If you win one of the 3 team groups, you make it to the World Cup. And then if you finish in 2nd, you go to the 5th round. And if you win the 5th round, you go to the Intercontinental Playoff. That's how it is. I really like that Uzbekistan team. I'm going to have them finish 3rd, just short of the Qataris. But I think they'll really be able to battle the Qataris. And that's something I really, really want to watch out for is them battle the Qatari national team. Then I'm going to have the UAE, Kyrgyzstan, North Korea. They barely got in the first place. I just don't think they're going to be able to have the talent to rival a team like Kyrgyzstan or the United Arab Emirates. I'm going to have them bottom. Group B, and this is where it can get even more crazy. We have South Korea, Iraq, Jordan, Oman, Palestine, and Kuwait. Some of these teams really aren't as experienced in the latter stages of World Cup qualifying. I'm talking Kuwait. I am talking Palestine. Jordan, if you can make an argument for Jordan as well. The team that's a sleeper in this, I think they're going to win the group, is the Iraqis. The Iraqis look so good. Same with the South Koreans. I think those two far and away the best teams in this group. I don't think there's really a debate on who the best 2 teams in this group are. It's going to be everyone else. If I had to pick a sleeper, Palestine looks really good against Australia, and Kuwait looks really bad. Though Kuwait did get a result against Qatar. That's also fairly respectable. I'm going to go South Korea, Iraq, tied on points. So I think they're both going to go straight up into the World Cup. If I had to pick more teams to be interested in, I'm going to have Kuwait bottom. Palestine, Jordan, and Oman. I'm going to have Oman 3rd. I think that Oman team's really, really good. They're able to draw Uzbekistan. They're able to draw some of these bigger teams. They were able to get results against Australia in the previous World Cup qualifying cycle. I believe they got results also against Japan. So I think they'll be able to play in some of these bigger matches. I'm going to have Oman 3rd, then Jordan, then Palestine and Kuwait. Palestine barely missing out on the next round of the World Cup. But I think they're going to be in the mix. And finally, we got Group C. We have Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, China, and Indonesia. This group is miraculous. I am in love with this group. There are 5 teams, even 6 really, that you can argue could make it at least to the 4th round. You have Japan, Australia, and Saudi Arabia. 3 teams that were in the final round all in the same group in the previous World Cup qualifying cycle that all went up to battle against one another. And I'm so excited to see how they play each other. You have Bahrain, who are not really known for soccer or football, however you want to word it, but they've been in the mix more recently. They just missed out on the final round of qualifying last go. I think they're going to be able to make some noise in the 3rd round, excuse me. You have China and Indonesia. China are really sliding. They barely made it to this round to begin with. They were in a group with Thailand. Thailand just missing out on goal difference. That's why Thailand's not here. You have Indonesia representing the Southeast Asian teams. I'm actually really intrigued to see how that Indonesian team performs. They're a team that could really be slept on by some of the bigger teams. And I think Indonesia could be one to get some of the bigger results, one of the bigger upsets of the whole group. But if I had to pick a team to win the group, I'm going to have Japan up top. I think it's pretty straightforward. But I love that Saudi Arabian team. they're able to win some of these bigger matches. I trust them more than the Australian national team. I'm going to have Saudi Arabia second. I think they're going to be able to qualify for the World Cup. They're already in World Cup 20. Was it 2034? Is the one they're hosting? They're already in that World Cup, and they might probably will make it in 2030. So they're a nation with, I mean, we all know about the Saudi League with Al Nasser, Al Ali, all these other teams. We all know what that league is like, but their national team, I think, is growing in strength, and I think they'll be able to finish in second. In third, I got Australia, a team that made noise in the previous World Cup. Don't get me wrong, they were able to make some significant noise in the previous World Cup. I think we can all agree with that. But the issue I have with them is that they're an aging squad. I don't know how they're going to look against the younger teams of Japan, of Saudi Arabia. I'm just not convinced by them. I'm going to have them slide into the fourth round. But I think they'll be able to qualify for the World Cup. One of the teams that could qualify for the World Cup out of the fourth round. In fourth place, I'm going to do it how they have it. I'm going to have Bahrain fourth. They're a team that not really anyone knows about. And they're going to be the team that I think can make some dark horse runs. Yes, they've had a big defeats against Iraq in the past, but recently they're unbeaten in their last 4 matches, and they've won 6 of their last 7 overall. They've been able to beat teams like Malaysia, Jordan. They beat a Jordan team. They were in the round of 16 of the Asian Cup. Yes, they played Japan, but they now know how to play against this Japanese squad. They've gotten results against the UAE in the World Cup qualification. They did struggle against Yemen, which makes me a little bit worried, but they're able to beat up Nepal, just do their thing. And in their previous World Cup qualifying group, they were in the group with the UAE. So they were able to get results against the United Arab Emirates. They're able to get results against Yemen and Nepal. How will they do against the bigger teams? I'm going to have them slide in fourth. Just behind them, I love that Indonesia team. And they're a team to really watch out for out of the Southeast Asian region in the future. You have your Thailand, Vietnam, but what about the Indonesians? I think they're going to be able to make some noise. China bottom. They're just not as good. I think they're going to be able to have a lot of slip-ups against Indonesia and Bahrain. So I'm going to have Japan, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Bahrain, then Indonesia, and then China. What all the groups of those are going to be? I think all of those matchups, everything that we've listed below, all are going to be very, very exciting. I'm really intrigued to see how they go. But more intrigue will be going, for me, with CONMEBOL. We're going to go to South America next. We have World Cup qualifying in South America. We have already played 6 matches. We talked about this last year. So let's give you a quick recap on where we are. How many matches have we played? We played 6 matchups so far. In this window, I believe we'll be seeing 2 more matches being played. We'll be able to get some. Yes, in the next schedule, we finish. We have a couple of match days in this window. So we have match days 7 and 8 before seeing 9 and 10 in October. Match day 11 and 12 in November. They play 18 matches total. So the World Cup qualifying cycle will finish for South America next year. So let's talk about where we are. We'll start us off at the top. We have Argentina leading the group. They've pretty much walked everyone. They did lose. I just don't remember who they lost to. If you look at Argentina as a national team, of course they're led by Lionel Messi and company, but man, they've been so good. Their one loss was away to Uruguay in a I don't know, it was at home to Uruguay. Very interesting loss there too. I completely forgot they lost to Uruguay back in November of last year. But they started their qualification campaign. They beat Ecuador. They beat Bolivia. They beat Paraguay and Peru. They lost to Uruguay, but they beat Brazil. We'll talk about Brazil more in a bit. They had a couple of friendlies. They have lost 1 game in the last year and a half. Actually, it'll be the last year. Since September 7th of last year, they've lost 1 match. Now it's to Uruguay. This year, in World Cup qualifiers, they haven't played a World Cup qualifier yet, obviously, but they've recently came off winning the Copa America. They opened the window by playing Chile and Colombia. I'm really interested with that Colombia match. It's at Colombia. It's in Barranquilla. It's going to be really fun. That Colombian team, that squad is a sleeper to be top 2 in the group. Colombia, who are currently in second, they draw a lot of teams, but they also don't lose. And with the new cycle and the new format, and the way some of these teams have been sliding, I like that Colombian team a lot to battle Argentina. But we forgot to mention that team in second. That team is Uruguay. They've only dropped 2 of their matches so far. They drew 1, they lost 1, but they lead the group in scoring. They have 13 goals for in their first 6 matches. They've been able to score in bunches, led by Darwin Nunez, who is somehow linked with Arsenal. I don't think he's going to go to Arsenal. The deadline's in like 4 hours, so we'll see how that's going to go. But Uruguay, I like that Uruguayan team a lot. How with the old in with the new, led by Darwin Nunez and company. They've looked really good. In 4th place right now is Venezuela, the one team out of CONMEBOL that is yet to make the World Cup. And oh my, they've looked so good. Now, granted, they've drawn a lot, but they've only lost 1 match. If you really think about it, they've only lost 1 game. Yes, and it was their opener. That's right. They lost their opener to Colombia. But how do they follow that? They beat Paraguay. They drew Brazil in Brazil. They beat Chile. They drew Ecuador. They drew Peru. That's what this team is all about. They draw a lot. That's true. But they're able to get some of these bigger wins as well. They beat Chile and Paraguay, 2 games that you have to win if you want to be in the mix for World Cup qualifiers. And if you remember in their previous Copa America, they were the team that lost to Canada on penalties in the quarterfinals in Arlington. So I think they're going to be able to come out with a vengeance. They open up with the Bolivia, which is like the perfect team for this. And then they play Uruguay. So they have to beat Bolivia. If you don't beat Bolivia, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Because Bolivia don't defend. I think that's something we learned from Copa America. Bolivia doesn't defend. They're in 9th for a reason. We'll talk about more about them in a minute. 5th place is Ecuador, but I think they're a top 3 team in the region. If you forgot, they were deducted 3 points in the beginning for fielding an eligible player. They falsified birth documents. That's correct. But falsified birth documents for Brian Castillo in the previous World Cup qualifying cycle. So they lost 3 points. They're really on like 11, but they're currently on 8. But I think they're going to be fine. They've also been a team that's been really clinical in the defense. They've only conceded 3, but they need to be more clinical in goal scoring. They've only have 5 goals in 6 matches. That's not really going to cut it in South America. But another team that's really been struggling to kick it in South America so far has been Brazil. They've looked really concerning. 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses for the Brazilian national team? Are you sure we're in the right age? Oh, yeah, we are. And they have been falling apart. Now, in recent World Cup qualifiers, they've lost their last 3. But they didn't have Vinicius Jr., they didn't have Neymar. So they lost to Uruguay, Argentina, and Colombia. This is a window that they need to bounce back. And I'm talking really need to bounce back. They lost to Copa in the Copa America quarterfinals. They played a boring 0-0 with Uruguay and sucked in penalties. They open it in Brasilia. Actually, in Curitiba. Curitiba? Close enough. They play Ecuador. They need to do something, anything against Ecuador, or else I'm going to be more and more concerned as the tournament continues, as the qualifiers continue. Because if you don't go out there and beat Ecuador, you're going to have no momentum when you go out and play a possible upset win with Paraguay. Because the Paraguayans, yes, they're not known for playing in World Cups and being in the big moments, but they're able to make some noise and drive some teams absolutely nuts. Especially on the road in Asunción. I think I said that right. Asunción. Close enough. It should be really interesting. Brazil needs at least 4 points out of this window to feel more comfortable. I think they're going to be able to get it, but there's been a little bit of a worry. We already talked about Paraguay. Chile, they've been falling out of their golden generation. They need to make some noise quickly, or they are in trouble. They don't score. Same with Paraguay. If you combine Chile and Paraguay's goals together, they only have 4 in 6 games. A little bit of a worry, but we need more goal scoring. Just like Bolivia, who need to actually have real defense. They've conceded 14 goals in 6 matches. And also you have Peru, who've also only scored 1 goal, but they've conceded 8. So that is where we are. Once again, we'll repeat the standings with Argentina, then Uruguay, then Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Brazil, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, and Peru. Matches real quick to look out for in the first cycle. The one I'm looking at most forward to, and I'll probably watch it on September 5th, is Brazil Ecuador. I think Brazil Ecuador will be the most fun match, and it's one of the matches that really imply a lot and could tell us how good this Brazil team really is in the resilient moments. When they have Vinicius Jr., when they have Endrick, who's playing now at Real Madrid, how will this team look? It's going to be really intriguing. If you want me to look at a match for match day 8, Argentina Colombia immediately jumps off the eye in Barranquilla. It's going to be fun. I love that matchup too. Could Colombia really make some noise and go out there and beat the Argentinian national team? Can Argentina come out in a very resilient environment in Colombia and come out and get 3 points? If you want a sleeper matchup to watch out for, Venezuela Uruguay in match day 8 at the Estadio Monumental. That's going to be fun too. I'm interested to see how Uruguay plays on the road in Venezuela. If you go back to match day 7, another sleeper game you want to watch out for, Peru Colombia. Peru needs to do something, and could they do it at home against the Colombian national team and really make some underrated noise out of nowhere for how bad they've started their qualifying campaign? It's going to be something to watch out for 100% for sure. Moving right along, we're going to briefly talk about CONCACAF before we go to UEFA. We're going to talk about the CONCACAF Nations League. So if you don't remember how the Nations League works, we're only talking about Nations League A. So in the Nations League A, there are 2 groups of 6 teams. Top 2 advance to the quarterfinals, which you're probably asking, how are there only 4 teams qualifying and it's a quarterfinals? Well, you've the top 4 pre-seeded teams, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, all advance as the 4 highest seeded teams in the region. So they all advance to the Nations League quarterfinals in March of 2025. So how does this work? I believe how it works is that you face everybody once. Is that how it works? Group stage. Yeah, you face everyone once. Actually, you don't even get to play everybody. It's 4 matches, and this could get really interesting. So let's not mess around. Let's get right into this. We have Group A. We have Costa Rica, Guatemala, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Suriname, and Guyana. Guyana is getting walked. I don't know how they're here. They are the worst team in the groups. I have nothing against Guyana personally. They're going to get annihilated. Granted, they are in a group when there's like no goal scoring, so it could have been worse. I'm going to have Guyana bottom. Suriname, I feel like, is better than Martinique and Guadeloupe, though. Guadeloupe is like that one team you've never heard of, but they're actually decent. Guadeloupe, most notably in the recent Gold Cup, was like all right. I'm going to have Guadeloupe 5th, though, and I feel really bad for that. I'm going to have Suriname 4th. I'm going to keep the top 2 the same. I'm going to have Costa Rica, Guatemala. I'm going to do Martinique, and Martinique's not that great either. I'm going to have Suriname 3rd. Let's break this really crazy. Suriname, I think, stays up. I'm thinking Guadeloupe and Guyana go down, and Costa Rica and Guatemala go through to the next round. The top 2, I think, are pretty set, and everyone else is just going to be battling to not go down the Nations League B, or El Salvador is somehow in Nations League B. That's how much in shambles they are in. Just for reference, the team that drew Puerto Rico is in Nations League B. Just for reference. Matches to watch out for in the September window from this group, if you want to watch any of these. Guatemala, Costa Rica does happen in Guatemala City on September 9th in match number 19. September 9th at 10 p.m. That's going to be intriguing for me personally. I think the Costa Ricans, they need to beat Guatemala. They should beat Guatemala. I think Guatemala will just put up too much of a fight in Guatemala City. It's home and field advantage in CONCACAF is more important than you think it is, especially if you're like a middle of the group team like Guatemala is. United States, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica is another one, Panama. They know how to bring El Salvador is another one who know how to bring the home field advantage. Jamaica, Honduras, they're also in there. Guatemala, I think, is not in that first tier. So I can really see Costa Rica coming out here with the win. But that's the matchup in September I'll be watching out for the most in this group. And then we have Group B. We have Jamaica, Honduras, Trinidad, Cuba, Nicaragua, and French Guiana. The sleeper team here, I think, is Nicaragua. They're not that horrible. I also don't think they have like the hardest schedule of all time. They do get to play two of the easiest teams in the group. They open with French Guiana away, which fair enough. On September 6th, they also get to play Cuba in Santiago de Cuba, which could be worse. You could be playing Honduras and Jamaica off the top. The only worry that I have for them next is that they still have to play Jamaica, and they play French Guiana again. So I think Nicaragua would be my sleeper team solely because they play French Guiana twice. If you go out, you can beat French Guiana twice. If you can get a shock result, I think against somebody else, against Jamaica, if they can get a result against Nicaragua, they are Nicaragua, against Cuba, I mean, wow, what a noise that could make it for Nicaragua. Top of the group, I'm going to have Jamaica. They actually just recalled Leon Bailey, which, fair enough. Leon Bailey is back. He's going to destroy this group. In second, I'm going to have Honduras. They are arguably one of the more slept on teams in CONCACAF, solely because they haven't been good, but they made the World Cup kind of recently. They're not bad. They have a decent system. I think they're going to finish in second. In third, I'm going to have Nicaragua. They just have such an easy schedule. I can't count them out of this race. I have Nicaragua third. Then I'm going to have Trinidad. Trinidad on the road, it's way harder than you think it is. Ask the United States. Yeah, I had to bring that up. I had to. Of course I had to. You know who I am. I'm going to have Trinidad fourth. They're not great, but they're not bad. Like, they're like one of those teams solely in the middle. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they probably will struggle against freaking French Guiana, but might go out and beat Honduras. Just even though I don't think they play either of them, actually. Trinidad opens with Honduras. Perfect. I think they could get a result actually against Honduras, and they play French Guiana. Wow, I literally just guessed, and I guessed. Brilliant stuff. But playing in Basel or in Port de Troyes, I think it's what it is. It's Port de something. I actually don't remember. Regardless, the one match I would want to watch out for is Trinidad against Cuba in October. That will be possibly for relegation from this group. So the group, I have it as Jamaica, Honduras, then Nicaragua. I have Nicaragua third, Trinidad, Cuba, and then French Guiana. Should be pretty fun. I'm really excited. I'm even more excited because UEFA matches are back. Welcome to the Nations League. I hate this. I do not like the UEFA Nations League. I want World Cup qualifying to start, damn it, because they still haven't announced how they're going to do it. Well, they haven't announced the groups yet or whatever. So let's explain how Nations League works. You are in just like CONCACAF. It's groups. If you finish like the top two, you go to the playoffs. You got the idea. It's 4 groups of 4 teams. Most notable teams not to be here are England. England are. Let's look through Nations League B. Some notable teams. Ukraine is not here. England's in Nations League B. Austria and Norway are in Nations League B. Just to give you some reference of who are here. Let's get straight into it. So Nations League A, Group 1. You have Croatia, Portugal, Poland, and Scotland. Poland are on the decline. I think they're going to finish bottom. Scotland's defense is really mid, and it might worry me because their attack is also not very good. Portugal and Croatia are also here. You have the Croatians, who I think are going to be on the decline as well. I like that Scotland team just as much. I'm going to go Portugal top, then Scotland in third. I'm actually going to put Scotland third. I have Poland bottom, so I have Portugal, Croatia, Scotland, Poland as my top 4. If you want a team that you want to watch out for, it's going to be the Scots. Remember, the Nations League is played, I believe, all the dates are all through the end of the year, right? This is where the edits would be fun. Yeah, it's played through the November window. So you'll be able to go through this whole thing, and then afterwards, like based on your ranking, you'll be like through to the World Cup or not. Who the hell? Group B. Oh, Group Two, because we're in League A, Group Two. Nailed it. And this group is really fun. We have Italy, Belgium, France, and Israel. Israel got really unlucky. I'm just gonna say it. They got unlucky. They got the hardest group. They open with Belgium, then they get to play Italy in Budapest because obviously you can't play in Tel Aviv right now because of the war over there. Then they get to play France because everyone loves to play France. They get to play Italy again, then France again, and then Belgium in Budapest. I have Israel bottom. They don't play a home match pretty much all tournament. They are the worst team here. Israel bottom. I think we can all agree with that. So it's pretty cool that Israel are actually here. Um, in third, I'm going to go Belgium. This team has been really underwhelming. Their goal scoring has been bad. They have some injury problems. Thibaut Courtois retired from international duty, so they have a little bit of a hole in net. So I'm going to go with Belgium third. I'm going to go Italy second. I think the Italians are not going to be that bad. They're going to figure it out, especially hopefully they can have some players in form. I'm going to have Italy second. You can't count out France. France are inevitable. They're too good. Hopefully they can actually score goals. That's the one thing I'm going to be worried about with them. Because if you remember from the Euros, they scored or 2 goals from open play the whole tournament. That weren't own goals. A little bit worrying. I'm going to have France top, though, regardless. I have France, then Italy, then Belgium, and Israel. In Group 3, we have the Netherlands, Hungary, Germany, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. The Germans are the team I'm going to watch out for the most for in this group. They did just lose 2 of their key players in Thomas Muller and Manuel Neuer, as well as Toni Kroos. But they do have players to replace them. Most notably in goal with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, who I'm so intrigued to watch for the Germans. But I don't think they win the group. Not so fast. I like the Netherlands. I have the Netherlands winning this group. They are still young. They still have a lot of good players. If they can stay healthy in club and country, I have the Netherlands top. They're going to win this group. Then I have the Germans second, but don't count out the Hungarian national team either. They're fast, they're hungry, and they're led by Dominik Szoboszlai. I think he's going to be able to cause some problems for the Germans. I think Germany's more quality in the German team is what's going to keep them here. I have Hungary going into the playoff, which they should stay in Nations League A anyway. I have Bosnia fourth. They're not ready to play Nations League A yet, so I'm going to have Bosnia bottom. Though they're not that terrible. They're not going to get walked like Israel is going to, but they're not going to look very good. And then finally in Group 4, we have Spain, Denmark, Switzerland, and Serbia. Now, the team I'm really interested to see is Denmark. They've had a little bit of a fall off recently. They haven't looked that great, and they have some key players. But the issue is going to be the Swiss, because the Swiss have been eternally underrated by everyone, including myself, where they've been like, yeah, we're in the mix, but no, we're not in the mix. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we're going to be a pot 3 team, but we can still win a group. And they're very weird. Very weird bunch to look out for. So I'm going to go with Spain top, Switzerland second. I'm tired of sleeping on Switzerland. I'm going Switzerland second, then Denmark, the Serbs. The Serbian team is not bad. They're just not as better than some of the teams that we've listed. So I'm going to go Spain, Switzerland, Denmark, and Serbia as my 4 teams in Group 4. The knockouts are I believe in March of next year, and hopefully this will lead us into learning about the UEFA World Cup qualifiers, which start next year. So hopefully we will know something. I'm just making sure we don't know anything about that yet, because if there is something I need to know about, yeah, we still don't know anything about it yet. So the format, there's like two rounds and whatever. It's like the same thing it always is. It starts in March of 2025. It ends in March 2026 with the playoffs. So all of 2025 will be World Cup qualifying in UEFA. Finally, today we'll be talking about Formula One. We'll be talking about F1, and we'll give some brief Premier League games to watch out for. Recently, actually, no, we're not going to go over the Prem today. We're going to be going over transfers today because it is deadline day, of course, and we're still looking at some transfer news. So let's get right into, but let's actually go into the transfer news first. Just to keep the sports theme accurate. So the big move recently has been Jadon Sancho from Manchester United. He's been linked to Chelsea. There's a good chance he goes to Chelsea by the time this video goes out. I have no idea. According to what I've read in recently, Chelsea presented 2 bids for Jadon Sancho. He said yes. I don't know if they're going to do the move or not. I just don't know how the money is going to work. Honestly, when the video goes out, there might be something like right here that says yes, he moved, which would be kind of funny. It's very possible. So Jadon Sancho, the Chelsea rumors continue. Arsenal did get a backup goalkeeper. We'll explain why in a minute. They signed Neto on loan from Bournemouth because Bournemouth signed Kepa on loan from Chelsea. It is very confusing. But the reason Arsenal need a new backup goalkeeper is because Aaron Ramsdale left. I'm very sad. I am very sad today. You know, the sadness theme really continued. When I heard about Johnny Gaudreau, I was already sad, but then they officially presented Aaron Ramsdale as the new Southampton player, and it made me more sad. Because Aaron Ramsdale, when I started watching Arsenal again, we were led by Aaron Ramsdale. He was one of the main reasons that Arsenal were even good or reasonably decent in the late 2010s. He was one of, and kind of recently, he was one of the main reasons why we were decent. But inconsistencies and lack of confidence led him to his departure from Arsenal. He will be going to Southampton. Hopefully he keeps them up, because I would love that as an Arsenal fan to see one of the studs keep a team up in the league. One other team that's been really making noise again is West Ham United. They've really made more noise. They just signed Carlos Soler from PSG on a loan. I believe it's with a buy option clause agreed. That will be very interesting because I love Carlos Soler. In the midfield, the way that midfield's constructed, watch out for West Ham. They are continuing to send it. Hell yeah, West Ham. Good job. I'm actually very proud of them. They've actually done really well. Other news, we had Federico Chiesa, the Italian, moved from Juventus to Liverpool because they needed more wingers. I mean, you tell me. They needed more wingers. Who the hell knows? But in terms of Premier League transfers, the only other notable one was the recent situation with Victor Osimhen. And the situation there is that he's either going to Chelsea or Al Ahly. And we have no idea if he's doing either of them. Because recently what Fabrizio Romano says is that Al Ahly have reached an agreement with Napoli for Osimhen, but he hasn't signed the deals yet. So I have no idea what the heck is going on with Osimhen right now. Because honestly, he can be going to anywhere. He could be going to the Turkish league. Who the hell knows? Man, it's going to be interesting. Also, one other thing to note. I just got word of this. The Nigerian foot. Remember when I talked about Nigeria earlier? I forgot to write this in my notes because I didn't know about this. They hired Bruno Labbadia as manager, allegedly, a couple of 3 days ago. I completely forgot about this. It was just revealed that Labbadia halts talks with Nigeria after contract negotiations stalled, despite already announcing him as manager, according to a German outlet called Kicker. And Nigeria plays in a week. They don't have a coach. You could probably see where this is going. That is all. Transfer news. More to talk about in the opening of the video on Tuesday. Maybe. Who knows? Finally, today we have Formula One, and it's been really, really interesting. Right now, we've had A lot of intrigue from the last race. We were in Zandvoort in the Netherlands. I love the Netherlands. Um, they're cool people. They know how to vibe. I'll tell you that much. And they also like Lando Norris. He wins the Dutch Grand Prix. Max second, and we'll explain the significance of that in a minute, with Charles Leclerc third. If you look down the rest of the order, we have. We'll briefly talk about the race because I thought we talked about it on Tuesday. Um, we had a lot of other stuff. Race result was Lando, then Verstappen, Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, Perez, Russell, Hamilton, Gasly, and Alonso. Your top 10. The big significance was Lando won by 22 seconds, so that means everyone else could be in complete shambles. Well, who really knows at this point? Because we're going to be able to see some real speed this weekend in Monza in Italy. But before we went to Monza, we had some very sad news, and this was supposed to be announced in the last video, but I couldn't edit anything because nothing was downloaded and the Wi-Fi was down in Iona. Logan Sargent got sacked by Williams. What the F is a kilometer is officially dead. However, yeah, no, it's over. I get why they did it because he wasn't doing anything, but like, really, I'm disappointed. I really am disappointed. It's just me being me. So that segues us to Speed Central, Monza. After the concern of the gap between McLaren and Red Bull and Ferrari from last week, which Charles Leclerc was stunned that we are even in this situation, we headed to practice today. And, well, I can tell you right now, Kimi Antonelli crashed in FP1, which is kind of funny. Also crashing recently was the safety car. Maybe Logan Sargent was driving that. I'll be honest. Who really knows who was driving the safety car? It did spin. I think the brakes failed. But the first two practice sessions, if you want to look at a team that's been really fast, you got to look at Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull have all looked pretty fast. In the conversation in both times in FP1 and FP2 was Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Verstappen was top in FP1, was not top 3 in FP2. Hamilton was 7th, but then rose to 1st in FP2. So I think it's all to play for in a very fast track. And a track, if you remember from recent years, that has brought a lot of unpredictability. What I'm saying is that we've seen racers like Daniel Ricciardo win here recently. Pierre Gasly won in, I think, what was it, 2020 was Pierre Gasly? Or something like that. We had a very different winner of the Grand Prix. That's what we're hoping for. We're not getting that this year. I'm going McLaren 1-2. I am being lame. I am going with the theme of 2021. I am going McLaren 1-2. If I had to pick the order, I'm going to say Lando wins again. They have to let Lando win now. Solely because, for the championship's sake, they need Lando to win. Lando, Piastri. Qualifying, I think it's going to be Lando, then Max, then Hamilton. I'm going to go Lando, Piastri, and then third is going to be a battle between Leclerc, Verstappen, and Hamilton. I'm going to go with Leclerc third. I'm going to say Leclerc third again, Max fourth, Hamilton fifth. That's a very interesting top 5. If I had to pick a sleeper driver to watch out, I mean, he's not really a sleeper, but Sainz is here. Valtteri Bottas was really quick in practice today, which, in FP1 and FP2. Kicked Sauber points this weekend. Is that on the cards? Also, Verstappen P14 in FP2. What the hell are we doing, brother? It should be interesting, and all kicking up on a brand new weekend of sports. Next week is World Cup qualifying and Nations League play. Enjoy the weekend in sports. Make sure to check out the link below the Empire Sports Media to see me on a broadcast tomorrow for the watch-along of Notre Dame against Texas A&M. 7:30 is kickoff. You don't want to miss it. And make sure to check out all the other links in the description. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. It would be greatly appreciated. But for now, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.